The kingdom of Valdrin had never seen a selection ceremony quite like this one. Every unmated Omega from the 12 noble houses had been summoned to the Obsidian Palace. They arrived in silk gowns and jeweled collars, their scents perfumed and their wolves preening beneath their skin. This was the moment they had trained for since childhood. The Alpha King was finally choosing his queen. But in the crumbling east wing of House Ashmont, behind a door that had been locked for 19 years, sat a girl who would never be summoned. Elowen pressed her palm against the cold stone wall, counting her steps as she always did. 14 to the window, 7 to the bed. 3 to the water basin where her stepmother sometimes remembered to leave fresh water. Sometimes. Her wolf stirred restlessly beneath her skin, pacing in the darkness that Elowen had known since birth. She had never seen the moon that called to her kind, never witnessed the shift of silver fur or the glow of amber eyes that she had only heard described in whispered stories. Blind. That was the word they used when they thought she could not hear. Blind and broken and cursed. Her stepmother, Lady Margot, had other words. Shame, burden, mistake. Elowen had learned to survive on those words, the way other Omegas survived on moonlight. The sound of footsteps echoed from the corridor beyond her door. She tilted her head, her hearing sharp enough to count 3 distinct gates. Margot's clicking heels, the lighter steps of her stepsisters, Corinna and Davina. They were not coming to check on her. They never came to check on her. Hold still, Davina. Margot's voice carried through the stone. The Alpha King's scouts reported he favors dark-haired Omegas. We need to ensure your curls are perfect. What about Corinna's scent? Davina whined. She reeks of desperation. I do not. You absolutely do. Enough. Margot's tone sharpened. Both of you will present yourselves with dignity. House Ashmont's future depends on one of you catching his eye. We have nothing else left. Nothing else left. Elowen's chest tightened. She knew what that meant. The creditors circling like vultures. The servants dismissed one by one. The East Wing sealed off and forgotten. Just like her. She was the daughter of Lord Ashmont's first wife, the true heir. But her blindness had marked her as defective from her first breath, and when her father died, Margot had wasted no time erasing her existence entirely. No one in Valdrin even knew Elowen was alive. The footsteps faded. A carriage rattled in the courtyard below, and then silence swallowed the estate whole. Elowen's wolf whimpered. We are always alone. Not always, Elowen answered silently. We have each other. But tonight, something felt different. The air carried a charge she could not name. Her skin prickled with goosebumps, and deep in her chest her wolf suddenly lifted its head. Alert. Waiting. As if something was coming that would change everything. Elowen shook off the feeling. She had learned long ago that hope was a cruelty she could not afford. She turned from the window she could not see, and retreated to her thin mattress in the corner. She did not know that 3 miles away, in the glittering throne room of the Obsidian Palace, the Alpha King was about to make a decision that would shatter the foundations of the entire kingdom. She did not know that before the night was over, he would be hunting for something, someone, that he could not explain. And she certainly did not know that the bond she had been told would never find her was already reaching through the darkness, searching, calling, coming for her. King Theron Veilheart had buried 2 fathers, 1 brother, and any belief in fate long before his 30th year. He stood at the head of the grand hall, watching the parade of noble Omegas present themselves before his throne. They curtsied. They smiled. They released carefully cultivated scents meant to entice his wolf into submission. His wolf remained silent. It had been silent for years. The Lady Corinna of House Ashmont, the herald announced. A dark-haired Omega stepped forward, her gown cut low enough to border on scandal. She curtsied deeply, holding the position long enough to ensure he noticed her figure. He noticed. He felt nothing. Your Majesty, she breathed. It would be the greatest honor of my life to serve as your queen. Theron studied her with flat, silver eyes. You may rise. She rose, hope flickering across her face. Next, he said. The hope died instantly. She was escorted away, and her sister Davina took her place. Same words, same performance, same emptiness in his chest. Next, next, next. His advisor, Lord Brennan, leaned close to his ear. Your Majesty, you have dismissed 47 Omegas this evening. The noble houses grow restless. Then let them grow restless. The council demands an heir. The kingdom requires stability. You must choose. I am aware of what I must do. Theron's jaw tightened. But I will not bind myself to a stranger simply because tradition demands it. The mate bond is sacred. The mate bond is a fairy tale. Theron's voice cut like a blade. My father had a mate bond. It did not stop my mother from dying in childbirth. It did not stop him from descending into madness. I will rule with logic, not legend. Brennan fell silent. The parade continued. Omega after Omega. Scent after scent. Nothing stirred within him. And then, Theron's wolf lunged against his ribs. He stiffened, every muscle locking tight. The reaction was so sudden, so violent, that his claws extended before he could stop them. What is this? His wolf snarled, straining toward something Theron could not see. Toward a direction that made no sense. Not toward the Omegas before him. Away from them. East. Your Majesty? Brennan's voice wavered. Are you unwell? Theron did not answer. His heart was pounding. His wolf was clawing at his insides, desperate and wild in a way it had never been. Find her. The command roared through his blood. Find who? But his wolf offered no answer. Only urgency. Only need. Only a pull so powerful that Theron had to grip the arm of his throne to keep from launching himself out of the hall. Something was out there. Someone. And every instinct he had spent years suppressing was now screaming that if he did not find her, if he did not reach her, something vital would be lost forever. Theron rose from his throne. The room fell silent. This ceremony is concluded, he announced. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Your Majesty, Brennan sputtered. You cannot simply... I said concluded. Theron's voice echoed with an alpha's command, and every wolf in the room bowed their heads in automatic submission. He strode from the dais without another word. He did not know where he was going. He only knew that he could not stop. Elowin woke to the sound of her own heartbeat. It was racing, thundering against her ribs as if she had been running for miles. Her wolf was on its feet, pacing frantically within her mind, whimpering with an emotion Elowin could not name. What is happening? Her wolf did not answer. Could not answer. It was too consumed by whatever force had gripped them both. Elowin pressed a hand to her chest, trying to steady her breathing. The air in her room felt thick, charged, electric. Something was wrong. Or perhaps, something was finally right. She shook her head, dismissing the thought. Nothing would ever be right for her. She had accepted that truth long ago, but her wolf would not settle. He is coming. The thought surfaced unbidden, and Elowin's breath caught. Who is coming? Ours. The word made no sense. Elowin had no one. She belonged to no pack, no family, no mate. She was a ghost, haunting the forgotten corners of a dying house. And yet her wolf repeated the word like a prayer. Ours. 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 3 floors below, the front doors of House Ashmont exploded inward. Elowin jerked upright, her sightless eyes wide. She heard screaming. Her stepsisters, she realized. And beneath that, a sound that made her blood turn to ice. Growling. Deep. Resonant, and utterly inhuman. Heavy footsteps thundered through the manor, not the footsteps of servants or creditors. These were the footsteps of a predator. Where is she? A voice roared through the halls, male, commanding. vibrating with an authority that pressed against Elowen's very soul. She heard Margot's voice, high and thin with fear. "Your Majesty, I do not understand. There is no one—" "Do not lie to me." The growl intensified. "I can smell her. She is here." "Your Majesty." Elowen's heart stopped. The king, the Alpha King, was in her house, and he was looking for someone. "He is looking for us," her wolf whispered. "That is impossible. He is coming." The footsteps grew louder, closer, climbing stairs that no one had climbed in years. Elowen scrambled backward until her spine hit the wall. Her hands were shaking. Her entire body was trembling with a terror she did not fully understand. Because beneath the terror was something else. Something that felt like recognition. The footsteps stopped outside her door. A long silence stretched between heartbeats. And then a voice, low, rough, and fractured with something that sounded almost like reverence, spoke through the ancient wood. "I know you are in there." A pause. "I have been searching for you my entire life." The lock shattered. The door swung open. And Elowen, who had never seen anything in her 19 years of existence, somehow knew, with absolute certainty, that her life had just changed forever. Theron stood frozen in the doorway. He had prepared himself for many things. A prisoner, a hidden rival, perhaps even a trap laid by enemies who sought to exploit the sudden madness of his wolf. He had not prepared himself for her. She was small, fragile in a way that made his chest ache. Her hair fell in tangled waves of pale silver, unwashed and unkempt. Her dress was little more than rags, thin enough that he could see the sharp angles of her bones beneath. She had been starved, neglected, locked away like something shameful. But it was her eyes that undid him. They were beautiful, luminous, the color of morning frost on winter roses. And they saw nothing at all. Blind. His wolf did not care. His wolf was howling with a joy so fierce it bordered on agony. Mate, mate, mate. The word crashed through Theron like a tidal wave, destroying every carefully constructed wall he had built over 30 years. The bond he had dismissed as legend, the connection he had sworn did not exist. It was real, and it was her. "Stay back." Her voice trembled, but there was steel beneath the fear. "I do not know who you are or what you want, but I will not go quietly." She had pressed herself into the corner, her hands raised as if she could fight him off. As if this starving, blind Omega could defend herself against the most powerful Alpha in 12 kingdoms. His heart cracked straight down the center. "I am not here to hurt you." He kept his voice low, gentle, a tone he had not used since childhood. "I would never hurt you." "Then why did you break down my door?" A fair question. Theron glanced at the shattered lock, the splintered wood. In his frenzy, he had not even noticed the destruction. "I could not stop myself." The admission cost him something. He was a king. He did not lose control. "My wolf. He knew you were here. He has been leading me to you since the moment I felt the bond." Her breath caught. "Bond? You feel it too." It was not a question. He could see it in the way her hands shook, the way her wolf's presence shimmered just beneath her skin, reaching toward him even as she tried to retreat. "I feel nothing," she lied. "Then why is your heart racing?" She flinched. Theron took a single step forward. She pressed harder against the wall. "What is your name?" he asked. For a long moment she did not answer. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "Elowen. Elowen Ashmont." Ashmont. The name struck him like a physical blow. He had just dismissed 2 Ashmont daughters at the ceremony. They had presented themselves as the only heirs of their house. They had hidden her. Her own family had hidden her away like a dirty secret, while they paraded themselves before his throne. The growl that rumbled from his chest made the walls vibrate. "Your Majesty?" A timid voice came from behind him. Theron turned to find Lady Margot hovering in the corridor, her face pale with terror. I can explain. You will explain nothing. His voice had dropped to a register that promised violence. You will remain exactly where you are until I decide what to do with you. He turned back to Eowyn, his mate, his starving, frightened, hidden mate. You are coming with me, he said. Her chin lifted with defiance that had no right to exist after 19 years of captivity. And if I refuse? Eowyn had never been brave. Survival had required silence, stillness, becoming so small and forgettable that Margot's cruelty passed over her like wind over stone. But something about this man, this king, made her want to fight. You cannot simply take me. She hated how her voice wavered. I am not some possession to be claimed. No. His voice was closer now. She had not heard him move. You are my mate. And you have been suffering in this prison while I searched for you across the entire kingdom. You did not search for me. You did not even know I existed. My wolf knew. The words carried a weight that pressed against her skin. I believe myself incapable of connection. I dismiss the bond as a children's tale. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice had roughened. I was wrong. Elowyn's wolf keened with longing. It wanted to go to him, wanted to bury itself in his warmth and never emerge. 19 years of isolation had left them both desperate for connection. But desperation had led her stepmother to lock her away. Desperation had made her father ignore her existence until his death. Desperation was not to be trusted. I do not know you, she said carefully. You do not know me. A bond is not enough to build a life upon. Then let me know you. He said it simply, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Come to the palace. Let me provide what your family has denied you. Food, safety, warmth. Give me the chance to prove that I am worthy of you. Worthy of me? A broken laugh escaped her throat. I am blind. I am nothing. Your council will never accept. My council will accept what I tell them to accept. The noble houses mean nothing to me. Your kingdom needs an heir, a queen who can... I need you. The 3 words silenced her completely. No one had ever needed her, not once in 19 years. She had been a burden, an embarrassment, a problem to be hidden. The concept that anyone, let alone a king, could need her was so foreign that her mind could not process it. You are lying, she whispered. I have never lied in my life. His hand touched hers, just barely, just the brush of his fingers against her knuckles, and electricity shot through her entire body. Her wolf surged toward the contact. Mate. Safe. Home. I am terrified, she admitted. So am I. That surprised her. She tilted her head, wishing desperately that she could see his face. The Alpha King is afraid? The Alpha King just discovered that his fated mate has been starved and imprisoned 3 miles from his palace for nearly 2 decades. His voice hardened with barely contained rage. The Alpha King is afraid of what he will do to the people responsible if he does not remove you from this house immediately. Behind them, she heard Margot whimper. Good. The thought was uncharitable, but Eowyn could not bring herself to regret it. If I come with you, she said slowly, I want your word that I will not be a prisoner in a different cage. You will be free to leave whenever you wish. And if your council demands you reject me, then I will dissolve the council. He said it so matter-of-factly that Eowyn almost believed him. Almost. Very well. She released a breath she had been holding for 19 years. I will come with you. His relief was palpable, a warmth that radiated from him and wrapped around her like an embrace. Thank you, he said. And then he lifted her into his arms as if she weighed nothing at all. The Obsidian Palace earned its name. Elowyn could not see its towering spires or its walls of volcanic glass, but she felt its presence the moment the carriage passed through the gates. The air changed. became heavier, saturated with the sense of 100 noble wolves and the weight of centuries of power. She had never felt so small in her life. "The servants have prepared the Queen's suite," Lord Brennan announced as they entered the main hall. His voice carried poorly concealed disapproval. "Though I must note, Your Majesty, that this is highly irregular. The selection ceremony was not concluded. The noble houses will demand—" "The noble houses hid my mate in a locked room and left her to rot." Theron's arms tightened around Elawen. He had refused to set her down since leaving House Ashmont. "They will demand nothing." Brennan fell silent. Elawen heard the whispers begin almost immediately. Dozens of voices too low to distinguish, but the tone was unmistakable. Shock, curiosity, contempt. "The blind Omega. Look at her, she is filthy. He cannot be serious. This must be a jest." She kept her expression neutral. She had survived 19 years of cruelty. She would not break beneath the weight of palace gossip. But Theron's growl silenced the whispers instantly. "Anyone who speaks ill of your future queen will answer to me personally." His voice echoed through the hall. "Is that understood?" The silence that followed was absolute. Elawen's heart did something strange, a flutter of warmth that she quickly suppressed. He was defending her. Publicly. Without hesitation. "Do not get attached," she warned herself. This could still be a trap. A game. A cruelty dressed in kindness. But her wolf was already purring with contentment. The Queen's suite was larger than the entire east wing of House Ashmont. Elawen mapped it with her other senses, the echo of footsteps on marble floors, the softness of carpet beneath her feet, when Theron finally set her down, the scent of fresh flowers and burning cedar. "There is a bath through that door." Theron's voice had gentled. "Fresh clothes in the wardrobe. Food will be brought within the hour. Is there anything else you require?" "You are leaving?" She had not meant to ask. The words escaped before she could stop them, revealing a vulnerability she despised. "I must address the council before they stage a full revolt." A hint of dry humor colored his tone. "But I will return. You have my word. And if I need something while you are gone? Pull the cord by the bed. A servant will attend you immediately." He paused. "They have been instructed to treat you with the respect owed to their queen. If any of them fail in that duty, you will tell me." It was not a request. "I am not your queen yet," she reminded him. "You have been my queen since the moment I felt the bond." His footsteps approached, and then his hand cupped her cheek with a tenderness that stole her breath. "I have waited 30 years for you, Elawen. I will wait as long as you need. But know that my decision is already made." His lips brushed her forehead, feather-light, impossibly gentle. Then he was gone. Elawen stood motionless in the center of the vast room, her skin still tingling where he had touched her. "This is real," she thought. "This is actually happening." But even as hope flickered in her chest, a darker voice whispered from the shadows of her mind. "They will never let you keep him. The council. The nobles. The kingdom. They will find a way to tear you apart." She did not know how right that voice would prove to be. 3 floors below, in a candlelit chamber hidden from the palace records, Lady Margot was already composing a letter. A letter that would reach very dangerous hands. A letter that would set in motion a conspiracy designed to destroy the blind Omega before she ever had a chance to become queen. 3 days in the palace taught Elawen more about cruelty than 19 years in captivity. At House Ashmont, the cruelty had been simple, obvious: a locked door, a missed meal, words designed to wound. Here, the cruelty wore silk gloves. "Such a lovely gown," Lady Seraphine cooed during the morning gathering. "It is remarkable what fine fabric can do for certain figures." "I hear she cannot even read," another voice whispered, deliberately loud enough to carry. "How will she manage state correspondence? Will the king read her bedtime stories as well?" Laughter rippled through the solarium. Elawen kept her spine straight and her expression serene. She had mapped the room in her mind. 14 noble ladies arranged in a crescent, their scents a cloying mixture of perfume and malice. Lady Seraphine sat at the center, and from what Elawan had gathered, she had been the favored candidate for queen before Theron's unexpected choice. Her hatred was a living thing. "Tell me, Lady Elawan." Seraphine's voice dripped with false sweetness. "How exactly does one catch a king's attention while locked in an attic? Was it some sort of enchantment?" "Perhaps it was prayer," Elawan replied calmly. "The goddess rewards patience." Silence. Then a different voice, warmer, cutting through the tension like a blade. "I think the goddess rewards authenticity." Footsteps approached, and a hand touched Elawan's arm with gentle confidence. "Something sorely lacking in this room. Lady Elawan, I am Isidore of Renthorn. Would you walk with me in the gardens? I find the air in here rather stale." Elawan allowed herself to be guided from the room, acutely aware of the hostile stares following her exit. "You should not have done that," she said, once they were safely in the corridor. "Lady Seraphine will make your life difficult." "Lady Seraphine has been making my life difficult since we were children." Isidora's voice held a smile. "I am quite immune to her particular brand of venom. Besides, someone needs to stand beside you, and the king cannot be everywhere at once. Why would you risk yourself for a stranger?" "Because I know what it is like to be underestimated." Isidora paused. "My younger brother was born with a withered leg. The court treated him as invisible until he proved himself the finest military strategist in 3 generations. I learned early that worth has nothing to do with what others perceive." Elawan's throat tightened with unexpected emotion. "Thank you." "Do not thank me yet. I came to deliver a warning." Isidora's voice dropped. "There are whispers in the shadows, rumors of a faction within the council that intends to challenge your bond with the king." "Challenge it how?" "I do not know the specifics, but I have heard the name Ashmont mentioned more than once." Isidora squeezed her arm. "Your stepmother arrived at the palace this morning. She has requested an audience with the council." Elawan's blood turned to ice. "Margot." "Here. What could she possibly want?" "Nothing good." Isidora's voice hardened. "Watch your back, my lady. The court is a battlefield, and not everyone fights with swords." She departed with a promise to return, leaving Elawan alone in the garden. The scent of night-blooming jasmine surrounded her, but Elawan could not appreciate its sweetness. Her mind was spinning. Margot had kept her locked away for 19 years, had starved her, had pretended she did not exist. Why would she come here now? Unless she intended to finish what she had started. Elawan's wolf growled with a ferocity that surprised them both. Let her try. For the first time in her life, Elawan had something worth fighting for. She only hoped she would survive long enough to keep it. The council chamber smelled of old wood and older grudges. Theron sat at the head of the obsidian table, his patience eroding with every word that left Lord Brennan's mouth. "The noble houses are in agreement, Your Majesty. A blind Omega cannot fulfill the duties of a queen. The bond, while sacred, does not supersede the needs of the kingdom." "The needs of the kingdom." Theron's voice was dangerously soft. "Tell me, Brennan, what needs are those exactly?" "An heir, for one. A queen must be able to—" "Choose your next words very carefully." The warning hung in the air like the edge of a blade. Brennan swallowed. "I mean no disrespect to the lady, but there are concerns about the viability of offspring, about her ability to navigate diplomatic functions, about the message it sends to our allies and enemies alike." "The message it sends." Theron rose from his chair, and every council member shrank back. "Let me tell you what message I intend to send. The Alpha King found his fated mate, a woman of noble blood who was imprisoned and starved by her own family. Rather than abandoning her to the judgment of small-minded fools, he claimed her, protected her, made her his queen, despite the whispers of cowards who care more about appearances than honor. He planted his hands on the table and leaned forward. That is the message. Does anyone have objections? Silence. Then a new voice spoke from the doorway. I have an objection, Your Majesty. Theron turned. Lady Margot stood at the entrance, flanked by 2 council guards. Her face was a mask of humble concern, but her eyes glittered with something far more dangerous. Lady Ashmont? Theron's wolf snarled beneath his skin. You were not summoned to this chamber. Forgive my intrusion, but I could not remain silent. She stepped forward, producing a rolled parchment from her sleeve. I come bearing evidence that the woman claiming to be your mate is not who she appears to be. The council stirred. Explain yourself, Brennan demanded. Margot's smile was a serpent's smile. The girl you call Elowen is not the daughter of Lord Ashmont. She is a foundling, a base-born child my late husband took in out of misguided charity. She has no noble blood, no claim to any title. Lies. Theron knew they were lies. He could smell the deception rotting beneath Margot's perfume. But the council did not have his senses. If this is true, Lord Brennan said slowly, then the bond is irrelevant. A king cannot mate with a commoner. It is forbidden by laws older than this palace. The laws exist to protect the bloodlines, another council member added, to ensure the strength of the royal line. She is lying. Theron's voice cut through the murmurs. Elowen carries the Ashmont scent. She is his true-born daughter. Scent can be manufactured, Margot countered smoothly. I have documentation, witnesses. The midwife who delivered the foundling is prepared to testify. The council erupted into chaos. Theron stood motionless, his mind racing. Margot had come prepared. She had built her case carefully, brick by poisonous brick. And if the council believed her, if they ruled against the bond, he would lose Elowen. The law would demand she be cast out, exiled, stripped of any protection he could offer. No. His wolf roared with a fury that shook his very soul. We will not lose her. This council is adjourned. Theron's voice resonated with an alpha's command. Until the truth of this matter is established, no decisions will be made. He strode from the chamber without waiting for a response. He had to reach Elowen before Margot's allies did. Elowen knew something was wrong the moment her door opened. The footsteps were wrong, too heavy, too numerous. And beneath the scent of palace soap she detected something acrid. Fear, not her own. Lady Elowen. The voice belonged to a servant she did not recognize. You must come with us. The king has requested your presence. Lie. Her wolf sensed it instantly, the deception coiled beneath the polite words. The king would come himself, she said carefully. He always does. A pause. Then the pretense dropped. Grab her. Hands seized her arms, rough, brutal, nothing like Theron's gentle touch. Elowen screamed, but a cloth was pressed over her mouth, muffling the sound. She fought, bit, clawed. It was not enough. They dragged her through corridors she could not map, down stairs that spiraled into cold and damp. The palace above had smelled of cedar and flowers. This place smelled of mold and forgotten things. A dungeon. They had taken her to a dungeon. Leave us. Margot's voice cut through the darkness, and Elowen's blood curdled. The hands released her. A door clanged shut. And then it was just the two of them, the blind Omega and the woman who had tormented her for 19 years. Did you really think you could escape me? Margot's heels clicked against a stone as she circled. Did you think a pretty king and a mystical bond would protect you from what you truly are? What I truly am is your stepdaughter. Elowen forced strength into her voice. The legitimate heir of House Ashmont. No amount of forged documents will change that. A sharp crack. Margot's palm against her cheek. Elowen's head snapped to the side, pain blooming across her face. You are nothing. Margot's voice trembled with hatred. A defective whelp that should have been drowned at birth. I begged your father to dispose of you, but he was weak. Sentimental. He actually believed you might be cured. He loved me. He pitied you. There is a difference. Another slap, harder this time. But his pity is no longer a problem, and soon, neither will you be. Eowyn tasted blood. Theron will find me. Theron will find a corpse. Margot's smile was audible. A tragic accident. The blind Omega wandered where she should not have. Fell into the old catacombs. Such a shame. The king will grieve, of course. But eventually he will choose a proper queen. My Corinna, perhaps. Or Davina. Someone worthy of the crown. He will know it was you. He will suspect. But suspicion is not proof. Margot's hand gripped Eowyn's chin, forcing her face upward. And by the time anyone thinks to look for you, it will be far too late. Footsteps retreated. The door groaned open. Goodbye, stepdaughter. I would say it has been a pleasure. But we both know that would be a lie. The door slammed shut. Darkness swallowed Eowyn whole. She had lived her entire life in darkness. It should not have frightened her. But this was different. This darkness had weight. Had teeth. Had the promise of death lurking in its depths. Theron. She reached for the bond, that fragile thread connecting her soul to his. Please. Find me. Far above in the chaos of the palace, a king felt something shatter in his chest. His mate was in danger. And nothing, not councils, not laws, not the entire kingdom, would stop him from reaching her. Theron had never known true fear until this moment. He stood in the center of Eowyn's chambers, surrounded by overturned furniture and the lingering scent of strangers. A struggle. She had fought them. His mate had fought, and he had not been there to protect her. Your Majesty. Isadora Wrenthorn burst through the door, her face pale. I came as soon as I heard. The servants are saying, "Where is she?" I do not know, but I saw Lady Margot leaving the East Corridor 20 minutes ago. She was smiling. Smiling. That woman had taken his mate, and she was smiling. Theron's vision bled red. His wolf was clawing at his insides, howling for blood and vengeance. The East Corridor leads to the old servants' passages, Isadora continued. And below those, the catacombs. Theron was already moving. Seal every exit from the palace. No one leaves without my personal authorization. And find Lord Brennan. I want Margot arrested within the hour. On what charge? Kidnapping the future queen. He bared his teeth. If Eowyn is harmed, the charge will be murder. He did not wait for a response. His body shifted as he ran, bones cracking, muscles reforming, and human skin giving way to silver fur. The wolf took over, and the wolf had only one purpose: find her, save her, kill anyone who stood in the way. The scent trail was faint but present. Eowyn's fragrance, moonflowers, and something uniquely her, mixed with the stench of the men who had taken her. Theron followed it through winding corridors, past startled servants, downstairs that had not seen use in decades. The air grew cold, damp, ancient. The catacombs. These tunnels predated the palace itself. Miles of twisting passages carved into the bedrock, filled with the bones of kings long dead. A perfect place to hide a body. No, he would not think like that. She was alive. He could feel her through the bond, terrified, hurt, but alive. Hold on, little one, I am coming. The wolf ran faster. The tunnels branched and split, a labyrinth designed to confuse intruders. But Theron did not need to see the path. He followed the bond like a compass needle pointing north. Closer, closer. There. A heavy iron door, rusted with age but recently oiled. Someone had prepared this place. Theron shifted back to human form, his naked body steaming in the cold air. He gripped the door's handle and pulled. The metal screamed in protest, but gave way. And there she was. Eowyn sat huddled in the corner of a tiny cell, her arms wrapped around her knees. Her cheek was swollen. Blood dripped from her split lip. But when she lifted her head, when she sensed his presence, Theron? Her voice broke on his name. He crossed the cell in 2 strides and gathered her into his arms, pressing her against his chest as if he could absorb her into himself and keep her safe forever. I have you. His voice was ragged. I have you. You are safe. She was shaking, trembling so hard that he felt it in his own bones. She said she was going to kill me. She will never touch you again. The promise was absolute, unbreakable. I will tear this kingdom apart before I let anyone harm you. Elowyn's hands fisted in his hair, clinging to him with desperate strength. I reached for you, she whispered. Through the bond. I did not know if it would work. It worked. He pressed his lips to her hair. I felt you. I will always feel you. For a long moment they simply held each other in the darkness of that ancient cell. Then Theron pulled back, his expression hardening with resolve. Can you walk? I think so. Good. He helped her to her feet, keeping one arm firmly around her waist. Because we have a kingdom to address, and a traitor to execute. The throne room had never been so crowded. Every noble house had sent representatives. The council stood in rigid formation. Servants lined the walls, their eyes wide with anticipation. Word had spread through the palace like wildfire. The king had found his mate in the catacombs. The king was demanding justice. Elowyn stood at Theron's side, her hand clasped firmly in his. Someone had found her a fresh gown, deep blue velvet that made her silver hair gleam like starlight. The bruise on her cheek had been treated but not hidden. Theron had insisted. Let them see what was done to her. Let them understand exactly what kind of monster they had harbored in their midst. Margot knelt at the center of the room, her wrists bound in iron chains. Gone was the smug confidence, the serpent's smile. She looked exactly like what she was, a woman who had gambled everything and lost. Lady Margot Ashmont. Theron's voice echoed through the chamber. You stand accused of imprisoning a noble daughter for 19 years, of starving her, of attempting to murder her, of presenting false documents to this council in an effort to delegitimize her bond with your king. He paused, letting the words settle. How do you plead? Margot lifted her chin, defiance flickering in her eyes. I plead mercy, Your Majesty. Everything I did was for the good of my house. The girl is defective, blind and useless. I was protecting the Ashmont legacy from... You were protecting your ambition. Theron cut her off. You wanted your daughters on this throne. You were willing to murder an innocent woman to achieve it. She is not innocent. She is a curse, a blight upon... Enough. The word resonated with an alpha's command, and Margot's voice died in her throat. Theron turned to address the room. Let it be known that Lady Elowyn Ashmont is the true-born daughter of Lord Aldrich Ashmont and his first wife, Lady Celestine. I have obtained testimony from the temple archives, birth records, blessing documents, witnesses who attended her naming ceremony. Every claim Lady Margot made was a fabrication. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Furthermore, Theron continued, let it be known that Lady Elowyn is my fated mate. The bond is true, unbreakable, recognized by the goddess herself. He raised their joined hands, and Elowyn felt the weight of 1,000 stares. Anyone who threatens her threatens me. Anyone who harms her harms the crown. Is that understood? The response was immediate, a wave of bowed heads and murmured assent. All except one. You will regret this. Margot's voice was a venomous hiss. She will bring nothing but ruin. The blind leading the blind. The sentence for attempted murder of a royal mate is death. Theron's tone held no emotion. But I will offer you a choice, execution at dawn, or exile to the northern wastes, where you will spend the remainder of your days in isolation. Margot's face contorted with rage. You cannot choose. A long silence. Then, finally, the fight drained from her shoulders. Exile. So be it. Theron gestured to the guards. Remove her, and ensure her daughters understand that any attempt to contact their mother or continue her schemes will result in their immediate execution. Margot was dragged from the room, her screams echoing through the halls. When the doors closed behind her, Theron turned to Elowen. "It is done," he said softly. Elowen's eyes burned with tears she refused to shed. 19 years of suffering, 19 years of darkness and hunger and cruelty. And now it was over. "Thank you," she whispered. "Do not thank me." He cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing her cheeks. "I should have found you sooner. I should have known. You did not know I existed. No one did. My soul has been reaching for yours since before I knew you existed." His forehead pressed against hers. "I am only sorry it took so long." Around them, the court watched in stunned silence. The Alpha King, cold, distant, unfeeling, was cradling a blind Omega as if she were the most precious thing in existence. Perhaps she was. "There is one more matter to address," Theron said, raising his voice for the room to hear. He released Elowen's face and dropped to one knee. A collective gasp swept through the throne room. "Elowen Ashmont, will you be my queen?" For 19 years, Elowen had dreamed of escape. In the darkness of her locked room, she had imagined freedom in 1,000 different forms. A window that opened, a door left unlocked, a kind stranger who might notice her existence. Never once had she dreamed of this. A king on his knees, a kingdom holding its breath, and a question that would change everything. "You are already my mate," she said softly. "You do not need to ask." "I am asking because you deserve to be asked." Theron's voice was rough with emotion. "You have spent your entire life having choices taken from you. I will not take another. If you do not want this, if you need more time, I want this." The words left her lips before she could second-guess them. And the moment they did, she knew they were true. She wanted him, wanted this life, wanted to believe that after everything, happiness was not just possible, but waiting for her with open arms. "Yes," she said, louder now. "Yes, I will be your queen." Theron rose and kissed her. The court erupted into cheers. Elowen barely heard them. She was lost in the warmth of his lips, the strength of his arms, and the thundering joy of the bond singing between their souls. Mate. Home. Forever. When they finally broke apart, Theron pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you," he murmured, quiet enough that only she could hear. "I know it is too soon. I know you have no reason to trust those words. But I wanted you to know." Elowen's heart cracked open. "It is not too soon." She touched his face, tracing the sharp line of his jaw. "I think I have loved you since you broke down my door. I was just too afraid to admit it." His laugh was a warm rumble against her skin. "Then we are both fools." "Perhaps." She smiled, the first real smile of her life. "But we are fools together." The coronation was held 3 days later. Elowen stood before the altar of the goddess, draped in white silk and crowned with moonflowers. The high priestess spoke words of blessing, of binding, of eternal union. And when the crown was placed upon her head, delicate silver filigree that caught the light like captured stars, the kingdom knelt as one. "Long live Queen Elowen!" The cry echoed through the palace, through the city, through the realm itself. A blind Omega, a hidden shame, a forgotten daughter, now a queen. But as the celebrations began and the wine flowed freely, Elowen felt a whisper of unease brush against her mind. It came from the bond, not from Theron, but from somewhere deeper, somewhere older. A warning. She turned her sightless eyes toward the eastern windows, where the mountains rose in jagged peaks against the horizon. "What is it?" Theron appeared at her side, instantly alert. "What do you sense?" "I do not know." Her wolf paced restlessly. "Something is coming. Something She trailed off, unable to find the words. Theron followed her gaze toward the mountains. The Eastern Territories, he said slowly. They did not send representatives to the coronation. I thought it was mere discourtesy, but what? His jaw tightened. There are rumors of a gathering army, of an alpha who calls himself the true king. He pulled her closer. I did not want to burden you with politics on our wedding day. If it threatens our kingdom, it threatens us both. Eowyn straightened her spine. Tell me everything. Theron studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled, fierce and proud and full of love. As you wish, my queen. Together, they turned to face the horizon. The celebration continued behind them, bright with joy and promise. But in the east, beyond the mountains, something ancient was stirring, and it was hungry.